Hey, I'm Dr. T, and welcome to my office. So, since we've been discussing elements, it's nice to jump in and talk a little bit about elemental symbols. Basically, the shorthand way of talking about elements. Frankly, we've been doing the shorthand approach for quite a while. You can look at alchemaic symbols, and they're symbols, instead of writing out the whole name of the stuff. Now, of course, some of those things weren't exactly elements. They were compounds, or energy, or just stuff that's not stuff. Going to John Dalton, not only does he do work with atoms design, he also comes up with a set of symbols for his atoms. He's thinking that they are kind of like billiard balls, and so his symbols resemble balls as well. Circles with dots and lines and letters and whatnot in them. But this is getting complicated. We get a whole bunch of weird squiggles, especially with printing and later typewriters coming to be a thing. It would be kind of nice if you had just some standard letters. So, hey, let's talk about the modern chemical symbols. So, for our symbols, we're going to be having a series of letters. For most elements, it's going to be 1 or 2 letters in length. Elements who are still awaiting their official name, because they've been recently discovered but have yet to be named, will get a 3-letter symbol that is basically an abbreviation of the Latin word for their atomic number. Presently, we don't have any of those, because they've all been named. That said, we still have the 1 and the 2-letter symbols. Now, to distinguish 2 1-letter symbols from 1 2-letter symbol, we always start an atomic symbol with a capital, and if it has 2 letters, it's going to have a lowercase. Now, of course, we can't have them all being capital single-letter ones, because there's a whole lot more than 26 symbols. Most of the symbols are fairly straightforward abbreviations of the name. Things like, say, carbon are C, cobalt, CO. So, relatively straightforward. Although you get a couple of the odd ones. You've got copper, Cu. Like, wait a minute, there isn't a U in copper. Well, there actually is a U in copper when you write it in the older way. Coperium. This is Latin for copper. You'll notice that several of the symbols just flat out seem to be kind of bizarre, and that's because they are abbreviations not of the English word for the element, but for the Latin word. I'd like to conclude this video on symbols by talking about a few extra features we tend to add to them. Quite often we will add numbers that tell us more about the atom in question. In the lower left-hand corner of the atomic symbol, we can write the atomic number. That said, we typically don't, because the symbol tells us the element, which tells us the atomic number, so why bother? Now, in the upper left-hand corner, we'll put the atomic mass. 2 atoms of the same element can have different atomic masses because they can have a different number of neutrons. So for this number, we can use it straight off as the atomic mass, or if we wish to find the number of neutrons, we would take the atomic number and subtract that from the atomic mass. That would give us the number of neutrons. In the upper right-hand corner is going to be our charge. This was actually going to be quite useful for us, because this is going to describe how it's going to form ionic compounds if that charge is anything but 0. And we can thus deduce the amount of protons from there, because remember, protons minus electrons equals charge, and if you know the number of protons, because you know the element and you know the charge, you can work out the number of electrons. With that said, symbols are fairly straightforward. The fun part, of course, is sorting out the weird Latin names. So, until next time.